Welcome along to Bangkok ChitChat. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a special guest. He's managing director and founder of the BigChilli Magazine, and a lot of you probably know who he is. Colin Hastings, thanks for joining us, mate.
Oh, my pleasure. Nice to be here.
Looking good.
Thank you.
For an 80-year-old.
Yeah. Careful. You started off on the wrong foot there, Andy.
Just loosening everybody
That's
up.
okay.
Right, so, well, you've been here a long time. We'll get into the BigChilli thing in a moment, but how did you start? I mean, what made you come over here in the first place? I guess it's the first question.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was, already established in England as a journalist.
Right.
I was 23. I'd had a couple of years in Fleet Street. And then myself and some mates decided that we should go see a bit more of the world and go around the world, hitchhike around the world, which we did right around Europe. And then we came down through places like Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. Ended up in Thailand, actually flying from Calcutta into Bangkok during the Vietnam War.
How long was that?
That was about 3 months.
Right.
3 months.
Because that would have been, still going on, right?
Still going on.
Yeah.
1974. We arrived in September 74. Wow. Liked the place, thought, sod Australia. Actually, that's not totally true. What happened was that we went along to the Australian Embassy back in 1974. It was then located in Ceylon Road in the old Hong Kong Shanghai Bank building. And we asked to see one of the executives and one of the staff to ask about Australia and what our chances were in Australia, because we wanted to go there to work. And this guy came down the stairs. We said to him, there's 5 of us. We're all young lads from England, 22, 23. We want to go to Australia. And the guy said, he stood there and he said, I'll try and do my Australian accent. He said, well, my advice to you boys is to go home. There's nothing for you in Australia. They were in a downturn at that time, and he wasn't keen on encouraging us or anybody else to go to Australia. But we didn't go. I kind of stayed on. I went back to England, came back. And actually, that's an interesting story, how I actually got a link with the Bangkok Post, which I ultimately joined about 6 months later.
So you started with the
Bangkok Post.
Good old. Was it the Bangkok Post? I thought
Bangkok
it was the
World,
Bangkok
yeah.
World.
No,
wasn't it?
Bangkok Post was the daily morning newspaper, and the Bangkok World was our afternoon newspaper.
Isn't Colin's story similar to Andrew Biggs? He was going from Australia to here, was going to carry on to go to England, and he stayed. That's right. He was coming through Thailand to go to, and never went on to England. They probably said the same thing. No, nothing going on in England. Stay in Thailand.
Yes, I know. Well, good, because it was as you've heard so many times, it really was a fantastic place. It's still a great place.
Oh yeah, but
it was tiny. Bangkok was maybe 2 million people.
But the Vietnam War was on at that time.
Yeah, it was still on.
Do you have the GIs down on Petchbury Road on those?
That's quite right.
Those places of ill repute.
Pat Pong was a key place then, wasn't it?
They weren't allowed into. They were not officially allowed into Pat Pong. They had to stay down in Petbury Road. Yeah. But they did come down, and the
Chevrolet wing was also the ambassador.
That's right.
My patron, he brought me over. Anyway, go on.
Good Chevrolet. And it was that first night in Pat Pong, my first night in Pat Pong, I met Roger Crutchley from the Bangkok Post, and in Mississippi Queen I met Shrimp.
Shrimp?
All right.
I met him, and we've been friends ever since then.
Didn't you bump into Bernard Trink with his cameraman behind him?
He was probably around somewhere that night as well. So that was about September 30, 1974.
Because I came in 83, so that's a long time before me, and I think I've been here forever. Wow. No, you've seen more.
Yeah.
Mind you, between 74 to 83, maybe not so many changes as of, like 1990 to now.
Yeah, you're right. But I'll tell you something else. About 1983, we had a huge influx of expats. I think it was the construction boom and other things going on, and that drew in a lot of people from the construction industry, especially from the UK.
Loads of discotheques in 83. That's when I came over.
There you go.
That's how I started. So, but yeah, right. So there were loads of expats.
Lots.
And you go to Patio, you meet French, Italian people. There was like not the Chinese so much or Middle Eastern. It was all like Europeans were here.
Yeah, it's true.
So why has there been more and more expats are leaving? Okay, now we can understand.
Well, I think that the expertise in the construction industry has been passed on to the Thais, and they don't need
same
that
as DJs.
expertise.
Right.
DJs,
all the DJs are Thais now. Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And even the Bangkok Post eventually. After I left the Bangkok Post, there was a program to bring in more Thais into the management, into the editorial. And the expats were fewer in number by the time, I think about the middle of the 90s. There were very few expats in senior positions in the Bangkok Post.
So back in that day, it was the Bangkok World, which was you said as
afternoon newspaper.
Afternoon newspaper, and it was a tabloid shape. Well, it was small,
a tabloid,
wasn't it? Yeah,
and the Bangkok Post was
the Evening Times sort of thing.
Yeah, it was Evening Standard, Evening News.
And and the Bangkok, and then there was the Nation was the other one.
Yeah, that's
right. And it is today the same.
No, the Nation's no longer. They're not printing.
Oh, it's not called, no, they're not printing.
They're not printing anymore.
A Bangkok Post are about to stop, aren't they? I heard.
I heard that as well. They're going to stop.
I haven't heard that.
Runs, yeah.
I haven't heard that at all. But I've heard other magazines and newspapers. Many of them have gone, and I'm hearing that some others will also cease.
So after how long did you work for Bangkok Post?
I was there from 75 to 80. Then I left. Actually, I went back to England in 1980, 81. I just thought give the UK a chance. Didn't stay long, but I worked on the Sunday Times in the days when Harry Evans, who just passed away, legendary Fleet Street. Actually, it's not Fleet Street. It was up at Gray's Inn Road. He was the editor, Harry Evans. So I worked there for.
Covering what? As a journo?
I was a journo. I was working there as a sub-editor on news and international news and business, and on the Sunday Times. And then I got offered a job back here with Media Transasia.
Right. There's a name from the time.
No.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a name.
It's like getting back down memory lane, isn't it, really?
So I was there for exactly 1 year, which is the minimum stipulated on my contract. I stayed there for 1 year. Yeah. And then went on to do other things. Kind of long story short, I worked in Singapore, based here, but working for a company in Hong Kong and Singapore, traveling the region, producing and writing magazines, mostly travel.
When did you decide I want to do something on my own? I think that's what you're getting to, right?
Well, I went back to the Bangkok Post to launch Thailand Tatler. It was the first international magazine of its kind. There's been many since and many have gone. But it was the first international magazine.
I can still see the cover in my mind now because you mentioned it,
And so I launched that and was there for 7 years, as managing editor for 7 years. And then I could see something happening on the horizon, getting older, and the Bangkok Post was retiring people at 60. And I thought to myself, well, that's going to be looming in the not too distant future, so I think I'd better start looking around to do something on my own. So I left the Bangkok Post, or Thailand Tatler. I was doing other magazines for them as well. And I decided to set up a travel magazine initially. Yeah. So I had that travel magazine. It was called Journeys. Journeys in Asia.
Here we go. There's another one I remember.
Journeys in Asia.
Absolutely.
And then there was a personal tragedy in my family that happened here in Bangkok. I probably shouldn't really go into details, but it shook me up big time because it was reported in the Bangkok Post. I'll tell you what it was. It was my nephew came here and he was a victim of a robbery that went wrong and he died. And it was.
I think I remember.
It was reported in the newspapers, in the Bangkok Post and on television, and they got it all wrong. It was so disrespectful. I thought, right, now is my chance I've got to do this to produce a magazine for the expat community. I had proposed to the Bangkok Post a couple of years before there should be a magazine for expats in Thailand because there were so many.
Yes.
And the Bangkok Post by that time become very Thai in every respect.
Yes.
And so I thought, now's my chance. It would give me, an opportunity to go alone and continue right through as long as I wanted to, as long as I could. So that BigChilli started in November 1999.
And what was your premise for the BigChilli? What did you think? You said expats, but covering what type of?
Just about everything. I mean, being a kind of a newspaper man and also magazines, I thought we could cover every aspect of life in Bangkok except Thai politics, and just keep away from that. There's lots of interesting people here. There's restaurants, pubs, hotels that are frequented by the expat community. So I thought,
So when you're a journalist, but by nature, would you say that you enjoy reporting on tourist locations, hotels, things, or getting a story and just? Well, I was to expose something here on in a journalistic way.
That's still in my blood, actually, because my first job was as a reporter on our local newspaper back in London, and I was a reporter, and I just loved digging into
like a detective, right?
Like a detective, yeah.
A gumshoe
Loved
they
it.
call him or whatever.
Yeah,
I imagine
gumshoe,
you with
gumshoe,
a that's what his image of a journalist is.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just loved the idea, and I still do. And I still dig into situations, but something I'm sure you're going to be talking about later. But you have to be careful what you say and how you dig, especially here in this country.
Well, I noticed there's the Colin Hastings of BigChilli, and there's a Colin Hastings on Facebook, where you're not quite so careful on Facebook.
That's true. The BigChilli, there's a BigChilli Facebook page and a Colin Hastings.
Corporate Colin and a sort of a more personal.
You're absolutely
Colin.
right. I've got two. I've actually got more than two, but
two sort of brands.
Yeah. May I suggest you have a different name on Facebook?
well, it's BigChilli. No, BigChilli is calm. It's conservative.
Yeah.
But my own Facebook page, yes, I like to see things, controversial things. I have, opinions on many things, which is kind of dangerous, I suppose. But there's
never
nothing
over the top. Yeah.
No, but most of them are actually outside Thailand. I have views of big events outside Thailand, and I'm constantly digging. And some people like it, some people don't. Too bad.
So what's happened with BigChilli? It's a print magazine, but it's also online.
Online.
Right. How have you found things affect you? Because people are moving to online, or there's a big argument. I mean, I love print, absolutely adore it, but then you look at the agencies and you look at the companies, and they just want figures. Whereas in print, it's opportunity to see.
There's a lot of debate on this.
Yes.
I mean, social media, internet, all that area of communication. Yes, they're looking at figures all the time, but you can inflate figures so easily. You can't guarantee what you see or what people tell you is correct on Facebook or any of these
you mean
platforms.
clicks and views?
I mean there's ways of doing that. And newspapers and magazines also exaggerate
circulation.
They have certain little tricks. But a big thing for me is that unlike what you see on the ads you see on Facebook and whatever else. They go, they come, and they go, and they come, and they go. You don't remember them. They're gone in a flash.
Yes, absolutely.
Magazines hang around. I used to run a bit of a naughty little house ad in BigChilli when I thought the Bangkok Post or newspapers, were a competition. So I'd run this picture of a dog standing on a newspaper in a kitchen. My headline was, "Newspapers, here today, gone tomorrow. But magazines last."
Yes.
And I do remember.
There's always a doctor's waiting room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. And this is why Rolex, they've always said, Rolex like to take the back page of a magazine because they know they're not selling a particular,
it's just their name.
Just the name, just a reminder. Back page of a good magazine, they like it.
Soft sell.
It's funny you say that because magazines come in two different ways. One, you can have a spine on it, or you just get a fold. Yeah. And when in a business in Thailand, we would always have a spine. Yeah. And or if we're designing a folder, for example, for a company, so you could put all their stuff in. We'd put a spine. And we'd put their logo and everything down there because everyone will just put it. If they put it into a library, they put it there and it's there forever.
There's another little trick. It's true. But I mean, there's something else that it goes through my mind that just supposing, I speculate here just a little bit.
Yeah, please
but
do.
Supposing print had never been invented, and we're all so wrapped up in the way we communicate at the moment, social media, internet, and then suddenly someone came along with, look, we have an alternative. There's a thing called a magazine. So what you have seen on social media, wow, that's great. I can keep it. I can store it. But we're going through a stage now where magazines, print media is it's in decline. It's true. But I still think there will be room for it.
You could say that about the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Well, indeed. A comeback.
They try to create a balance, and like you've done it as well. Is you put it on the flip books, so it could be on Tinder or your iPad or whatever it is, and it was to give you an electronic feeling of having a magazine, so you could actually flick and the page actually turns.
Flips.
So that was something, and I found that very useful because. We were doing it for, I won't say which company, we were doing it for one company. And you could actually target the ads. So basically, you could be on your iPad and you maybe you flick and you go, click, and then it takes you to that. page. And then the fact is that if people are paying for something, they want to see that there's been someone interacting. So if somebody presses something, you can see it's interacting. But does that mean you're having to change your model?
We have to, and we are, we have. And yes, I suppose we're being forced into this now. And, you know, our magazines, obviously because the advertising isn't as
well, I was going to get into advertising, yeah.
That's your only source,
we have
isn't it?
Well, we have subscribers.
Right.
But there's not that many people want to pay for anything. They don't want to subscribe and pay for anything. They want, look, you know, YouTube, subscribe, you're a subscriber, free. And they kind of ask for money. They say, please send me some contributions if you like. That's the way they're being funded.
We don't do that. We don't ask for contributions.
No, not yet.
You should.
No, but I want to have a general meeting about our YouTube channel after this.
I'll chip in, don't worry.
I just have to say with the BigChilli, I used to go out quite a lot, not as much as I do now. So, and Colin, I mean, I joked about your age. He was the guy that never ever got old. He was always at functions, but you'd do more than one in an evening. And I used to feel so sorry for him because you'd come and go, hello Andy, hello Paul, how's you doing? Have a drink up? No, I've got to go on. But you'd talk for about 50, great talker, great social, click, 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 and you'd move on. And you did,
pile of magazines on the arm.
And you had these heavy magazines. I mean, his magazines are good quality and they're glossy. And he'd plonk, and you do that. You did that like forever, for a long, long time.
I still do it.
We got the magazine. Thanks for bringing them, by the way.
I still do it.
Yeah.
I don't need to exercise.
Kudos to you.
I don't need to exercise.
No. Well, that's what's kept you young. That's where I was going to get back to.
Okay.
So I think that's another thing is that the British Chamber or any chamber magazine or your magazine, people they go to that section first probably and say, oh, I wonder if I'm in that magazine today. And it is a great drag for people to.
Oh, absolutely.
And
people, you know, they say, "Can you save me some copies?" Or they come to the office and ask for copies because they know they've appeared in the magazine. They keep it. Well, I've got lots of stories about that sort of thing as well. People have got. Go on. Some people have collected every single copy of BigChilli since we came out. I know several people have told me they've
apart from you, right?
I haven't got the whole set. I've got one or two missing, but I know some people who've got the entire
That's so
lot.
cool.
Wow.
That's
cool.
What's
your plan for the future then? So you're
also
going to continue doing the print when
we'll do the print, continue doing the print. I've got in mind another magazine. Actually, during this period of running BigChilli, I've actually launched quite a number of other magazines that did well for a while, then we closed them. So I think in total there's about 12 other magazines I've done. I'll try and remember some of them. Pulse, that was music.
That rings a name. Yeah, that rings a bell.
We had another one. We have a music magazine. I can't remember the name of it now.
I should know this.
Very nice music magazine. I had a great designer. Then a golf magazine, a golf map, a golf directory. We had a house or property magazine. We had the big ones were really Hua Hin and Patty, separate magazines.
Yeah.
And they just became too difficult to run.
It's a lot of.
Well, hang on. How are you going to run 10 You're obviously going to have people to send in. You're going to have stringers too.
Stringers and people. You know, we have freelancers to help do it. But I mean, I was overall in charge. I had some staff in those days, and I was able to.
Do you find the production, because of the way it's done now electronically, easier to do than the old days?
No, I don't think so.
You still have to make these plates, yeah?
Oh,
the biggest cost of any print is not the print run, it's actually the making of plates.
No, we don't do that.
No, it's just all digital.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
but that's your highest cost. Yeah?
The plates, there's the plates, and there's the printing, of course.
Yeah.
And yes, that's critical. And the bigger you go, the more plates you have. There are 8 pages. They come in sections of 8, and each plate you pay for. So if your magazine gets bigger, you pay more, obviously, for the printing.
Have you noticed that with newspapers, including the Mail, the Sun, whatever, or any other that are done electronically, lots more spelling mistakes and things?
Well, the quality of English in England is
terrible.
Isn't it?
Yes. And that would never happen 25 years ago. You read a newspaper, and if the Telegraph spelt a word wrong, there'd be an outrage. It would be like, nowadays, I guarantee you'll find at least 3 mistakes if you looked at the whole newspaper of something.
And that's why they have these, apology columns in these newspapers as well. Instead of running a letter from Angry of Tunbridge Wells, they'll have a little section say, well, this is a mistake. They admit their mistakes.
Well, but they legally have to as well, don't they?
No, I don't think they do.
Not for spelling mistakes.
Not spelling mistakes or just...
It's unprofessional, isn't it, for a newspaper?
If they make a mistake in a fact.
Oh, they could be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. No, we're just talking about spelling because wrong. You'll find the E's missing or something like that. Yeah. But it never happened in the old days. I wouldn't, because someone has to prove the plate and everything,
is it
right?
just so you get more time now, so you can read these things and pick on it? Yeah.
Well, I've just learned to read, so, I'm finding it a whole new experience. I just used to look at the pictures, which you had plenty of, by the way, and very good ones.
The other thing is we were looking at censorship. So within the censorship side, when you're preparing, whether I'm making an ad or we're making a video, whatever, there's been a couple of interviews and things we've had to turn around and say, on the line here, we'll lean to no. Yeah. But what sort of things do you have to look for?
Not to not print.
Well, I mean, as we've discussed in the past, there's a lot of self-censorship.
I think so.
You have to know the rules, things that you can't touch. The any lèse majesty laws are actually very tough, so don't go there. It's better just don't go there, or be very positive. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah. And that's what most people are doing.
Yes, being very positive. And we run lots of past stories in the past about the king and what the royal projects and things. So we try and be positive in that way. You don't criticise anything to do with the monarchy. You have to be careful of the religion, Buddhism, and monks and whatever, temples. And you really should be careful what you say about the military as well. Don't be.
Which is politics, really.
Which is politics as well.
Yeah.
You're probably unwise to talk negatively about the big companies.
So what's all left is all the fun stuff.
Yeah, well, it is difficult. It's difficult because you be careful with the big companies.
Yeah.
So you learn how to. You have to learn your own self-censorship.
I mean, we started radio in '86, and we were under the umbrella of the Public Relations Department, the PRD. Yeah. And back in the day, English was not, they didn't want English anything over here before satellite dishes, mobile phone, and especially internet. English, to apply, we had the first English live radios. The only English radio station, 107, was a 24-hour recorded station. So we were the first. To get that license, we broke many barriers. Honestly, we were like going through, we're on the frontier because we were in English, but we were monitored like you wouldn't believe.
Well, because up till that point, if I'm not wrong, all the radio stations, all the television stations were controlled by the military.
Correct. Or the Navy had their own stations, the Army had the Air Force, and everything else. So we went through the Royal Thai government.
Yeah, I think it's more or less still the same thing.
No, they're private.
They still got
private.
the FM. Yeah,
they still have.
But they get awarded the right to have digital TV. Yeah. But they still have to keep within certain parameters.
Oh, I'm sure.
But my point is the acceleration of how it happened, because you'll remember, especially in '74, but even in my time, no satellite dishes were allowed. No, then when you wanted a mobile phone, when they came out for a falang, you had to give your work permit, you had to fill in forms, and a lot of people gave up. But now, of course, they can do it all. Internet came later. But with the radio, we used to do English ads. So say we're doing BigChilli Magazine. It's the best 30 seconds, right? At the end, by law, we had to put what we called a Thai tag, which was Senapsanundoi. Oh, yeah. BigChilli Magazine. Yeah. And that was, I was speaking to my wife yesterday, what did Senapsanundoi mean? She said, it's just showing you what the ad was about. Yeah. Because they're frightened. They didn't want a complete foreign language in their country. And of course now with the internet, YouTube, Twitter, some of them must be rolling in their graves going, what's happened? All this English flooding into Thailand.
Well, but that's a good point, actually, because and maybe I'm wrong. Yeah? What I see is that before you used to have the Nation TV, they used to have a news. You showed you the news.
I think they've still got it, yeah.
Have they?
Nation TV.
Was actually, Nation TV's there, but English language report, news report. I don't see anything in
possibly
English
not anymore.
Not that it should be for us anyway, because we are guests here. Yeah. But a lot of that stuff has stopped. I mean, English language, as you were doing the morning breakfast show, that stopped. Yeah. Yeah. So on the media side, there's very little.
But Channel 3 used to do the news with English,
didn't they? From the point of view, they should have it for us. No, but it's actually for Thai. Yeah. Yeah. So they can actually follow and increase English abilities.
That's true.
Well, yeah. So that was one thing, but something else was within journalism. Do you think that because of the, let's say, self-censorship, but also, I'm not trying to get into the politics, but the computer crime laws, lèse majesty, that kind of thing, do you feel limited in what you can actually?
Well, I suppose so. I suppose so, but
make you feel okay, or you say, "Listen, I accept that."
I accept it. I've got used to it, but just on sort of censorship. You really have to be careful, of course, with photographs, where you place the photographs on a page if you're in print media, and you have to have anybody to do with the royal family, and even foreign royal families. You've got to have them. This is newspaper. You've got to have them at the top of the page. You cannot have them over.
The Thai flag has to be above all other flags. Yeah.
Above everything,
That's
and
right.
anybody with a royal family, any royal family has to be at the top of the page.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me. But I didn't know that.
It's also to do with the head.
Yes.
Yeah, just
I got
nice.
it. Yeah. Yes, I got it.
But it's unfortunate for you. You'll always be below.
But there's another thing. Another thing I must mention as well, that was advertising. You just mentioned, in passing, you said, BigChilli best magazine. You can't say those things.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Because we used to say the #1 radio station.
You've got to prove it.
Yeah,
you've got to be absolute
But
proof.
isn't that in every country? Because if you make a claim, you must substantiate that claim.
Yeah, but in Thailand, it's a legal thing.
Yeah.
It's a legal.
You can't say you're the best.
Well, I'll go into that in a tick. But
because there is a fine line between all. Yeah.
But in Britain, they find it. Carlsberg, probably the world's best lager.
Yes.
British Airways, the world's favourite airline.
Yes.
They must have found a way to prove that somehow. The Oriental Hotel here, the world's best hotel. Yes, it's true. It was voted.
For how many years in a row?
But it was voted the world's best hotel by a magazine in America, Institutional Investor.
Yeah.
Their readers voted the Oriental Hotel as the world's best hotel.
So they said voted as the #1 or something.
So they could say it's the world's best hotel according to Institutional Investor. Well, they don't need proof because it's there in that magazine. Yeah. But they could get away with that. But you have to be very careful.
Right. So would you say that we said journalism, maybe restriction, you're comfortable with that, and basically all this comes down to is freedom of speech.
Oh yes, you're going into a very.
I'm not going into the political elements of it, but there are restrictions in any country, whether it's through the legal system, by suing somebody for defamation or whatever it is, but also within the freedom of speech is within Thailand there are restrictions, probably more than in other countries, for whatever reason. But I find that we were discussing this before. It's more like where people fit into the, for want of a better word, hierarchy. Yeah. So if you are of a certain, maybe you're an office worker, you fit into this, and you shouldn't say things against that person above you. So there's a hierarchy. So with this freedom, it's an accepted process. It's part of the culture. So there's no huge issue with it.
It is. You're right. I mean, this is something which is, as I said, highly debatable because this is a country with its strict class system. Mm-hmm. I always think of it as a ladder. You've got the top rung, second rung, third rung, etc., and you have to pay deference to the people above you, immediately above, and everywhere else above them. And that's one of the problems because there is this goes out into difficult territory to talk about what actually drives Thai society and what's holding it back is this, for me, this class system. I don't mind saying that either.
Well, no, I think that's, and as you say, we are subject to being wary of that, doing this.
Well, I think
self-censoring. We're self-censoring ourselves.
What you've got is you've got the youth of, let's say, from the larger families here. They go overseas. They go to London. And they're not the big person, the socialite anymore. They're just something. Yeah. And then they begin to realise, they see what life is like, and they come back and they become the new people to open up the take over the business. So there becomes a slightly different attitude. Like, why should people change if it doesn't have to change? No, I think because it's a world,
especially if they're all right.
If it's a world economy, the world economy, and they want to be seen as being making a progressive company. So the family businesses are becoming far more modern now because a lot of family businesses around the world close, because they're not prepared to change. But there is a great feeling of change here.
Oh, it is.
No doubt.
You can smell the changes in the wind, for want of a better metaphor. If that
I
is
could probably
a metaphor.
find another one. But,
no, that's pretty poor. But edit. Yeah, no, but there is. You can see there's something in the air. Then there's something. Of change.
It's inevitable, but it's a slow process.
Absolutely.
Slow process.
Absolutely.
Another thing about you mentioned, censorship, your self-censorship, because the libel laws in Thailand are very tough because it's not a civil case, it's a criminal case.
That's correct.
TripAdvisor.
Yeah, it's a criminal case. It's a good case in point. And, you can end up in a court where if you defame someone, you are liable on the outset for a fine of 100,000 baht
Something like
and
that.
2 years in jail. So you've got to be very careful. You defame someone, they say a libel
Look,
case.
this has been really interesting. We're just scratching the surface, but we're really now running right out of time. Right. So either we invite Colin back because there's so much that he wants to tell us and we want to know from him, and so many other subjects to talk about. Is there anything else we can finish on now? And then we can maybe address it. Colin, you be the man.
Okay, well, nice to chat to you guys. And it's always nice to talk to old timers like us, amongst us, old timers. I me as well. And
older, youngest.
Yeah,
but look the oldest. Yeah, carry on.
But there are changes in even expat society. There's fewer younger people coming in, sadly, because it's more expensive for them to live. It's no longer you need a certain level.
Deals. Yeah.
No expat deals, and it's so difficult compared to the past. Yeah. One last thing from me, if I'm allowed to put this in.
Of course you can.
The BigChilli, we're launching the BigChilli TV magazine. I'm calling it a magazine, which will be like the magazine but in a TV format.
Yeah.
Interviews with people like you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I'll be very hurt if I'm not on it.
You'll be on there. Don't worry, Andy. Your silky tones.
And that is for now. We're definitely going to have Colin back because there's so much that I know I've got this great story and we can't hear it now. There's a great story behind BigChilli which I really want to hear.
Yeah, okay.
So another
many other things.
Another time, please will you come back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
now I know how to get here.
Yeah. So that's it. If you're first time watching, don't forget if you like what you saw, then subscribe. Share it is really important, and of course that like button as well. So thank you very much for joining. Once again, Colin Hastings.
Pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much. Andrew.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.